if how many redundancies are allowed, how many are bad, and how to avoid these redundancies, speaking the same thing into different contexts.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, and Ed can chime in here too, I think the approach section is a significantly more detailed version of anything, of the approach, the experiments you're going to run, than anything you should have written before. So if you're writing a lot of detail about the experiments you will perform in your background and significance section, then that's actually the wrong place for it. You can mention the approach and some of the maybe the innovative equipment or methods that you're building on. But to be honest with you, the approach section should be where you put in all of the more method-oriented technical details. In my opinion, the background and significance section should be more about the big picture. You know, what is the big human condition or human health concern that you're talking about? Why is it a big concern? What are the problems with that particular issue? What have other people done to address those problems that haven't been as effective? And what are you going to do? So, I mean, that's the background and significance section. Notice none of that should have been about your experiments. So I would say that if you're putting a lot of detail about your experiments in the background and significance section, no problem, just move it to your approach section now. Please do not, you know, don't, this is not about judging. You guys are learning this process. So if you're putting things in the wrong place, no problem. We're helping you to see where to put things. Ed, do you have something to add there?
I was about to say exactly the same thing. I mean, basically, you know, I frequently make the same mistake by putting too much in the significant and background section. But my approach is quite simple. In case if I can manage to describe my my research plan with being able to refer to the background section without the need to, you know, restate things, that's okay by me. Simply because I can refer to that section. In case if I feel like, well, I just can't do it, well, I move that section to here. So this can be referring to preliminary data. So again, what Mary Kay just said is, in case if it's something like broad, like describing the whole field, maybe that should go to the background. In case if it's something which is more related to your experiment that you're proposing or your experimental design, that should go to the approach section.
Does that make sense? I mean, is that what you want? Is that kind of helping you to understand the different sections?
Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Great questions. I mean, you know, you guys are just organizing. You haven't even made the first draft of your proposal yet. So this is a good time to figure out all those orders. Yeah. Okay, any other questions before I start on this future direction section? Anything about innovation? Okay, so let's move on so that we can finish up today. This is the last module for today, and then we'll move on to breakout sections. We really want to give you lots of time to talk with your groups. Okay, so what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is talk about the future direction section. When I write my grants, I call it a future direction section, but and I guess in my kind of you know, so when I was talking about the different sections of your proposal, I called it a significant outcomes and future direction section. So it's kind of depending on the grant and the project. I will sometimes then, you know, reiterate the summary of the significant outcomes. But kind of looking at the example proposals that we've been using as our inspiration and to help you guys see how a proposal is written, I find that a lot of people are emphasizing more of the significant outcomes in a summary than they are the future direction section. So I renamed this the summary and future direction section because it looks to me like it's more typical to include both of those two things in this very short ending section. So this is essentially like putting in like a conclusion in a paper where you're just trying to bring everything back together to to kind of round out the proposal.
Marike, hold on a second. For some reason, we're only seeing, we're seeing your screen in a kind of a strange way where your slide is probably taking about, I don't know, 30–40% of the total view.
Well, thanks for letting me.
Yeah,
thanks.
It's kind of in this presenting mode where we see your next slide, where we see all of your slides too at the bottom of the presentation.
Well, thanks for letting me know. Let me just stop sharing and I will try to reshare again. I don't know what happened there because I'm sharing. Here, let's do this.
Much better. That's it.
Better? Okay, thank you. Thank you for letting me know, Ed. I don't know why that was doing that. Okay. So, again, you folks chime in if you have any questions anytime. We are happy to answer your questions. Okay, so yeah, returning back to the kind of the sections of the proposal, we are now at the end. This is like a great moment. We now have, this is the last module. We've talked about the abstract, the specific aims. We've gone through all the parts of the research strategy, which is the bulk of your document. That is the proposal. And we're going to end this research strategy talking about the significant outcome and future direction sections. And then, of course, the very last section is your reference site, is your literature. Okay. All right. So what are the guidelines from NIH on this last future direction summary section? Nothing at all. They don't say anything about this. So in a sense, this section is about your style as a writer, okay? I would say every proposal that we have as an example that we've been talking about has this kind of summary section, but what is contained in that summary section is really kind of up to you. How do you want to end your proposal to really bring out the excitement and the, you know, to kind of end with a bang, I guess. So it's really kind of up to you. What I see in these kinds of ending sections are really talking about two different kind of major topics. And again, in a sense, it's really up to you kind of what you emphasize in this section. The first significant topic you would put in this last section is your expected outcomes and kind of a return back to the significance of this proposal. What are you going to do in this proposal, in the experiments you propose in this particular application that is going to really push the field forward? So it's almost like you're reminding your audience of what you said in that full background and significance section, but maybe pointing out a little bit about, you know, how your methods are maybe a little innovative and how your experiments are going to really address the major problems that you identified in that background section. So in this case, oh, sorry, I have a typo here, but the outcome of the 4-year, it should be 4-year plan. What is the outcome of the 4-year plan proposed in this proposal? Not the long-term goal, but just what you're going to do in this particular this 4-year proposal. What will be the significance from this project? So kind of return back to, it's like you're just going full circle. We started off with significance, now we're returning to significance. Okay, so that is a very common thing to see in this last section. It's kind of a summary, kind of a, you know, returning back to the bigger picture. And then the second thing that I like to put in my grants, you don't always see this in everybody's proposal, but I like to return to now the 10 or 20-year goal. Remember your long-term goal? Your 10 or 20-year goal, you want to return to that goal and think about what would be the next steps in the project to achieve that larger goal, okay? So discuss how the project proposed in this application will be continued into the future to accomplish that 10 to 20-year long-term goal that you described in your aims page, okay? Now, as I just said, there's no guidelines here from NIH, so there's lots of variations on this format. You really should use your own style to kind of summarize the value of your work, to reiterate the 4-year goal of your proposal, this application itself, and then return to that bigger 10 or 20-year long-term goal. In general, because this is really just reminding your audience what your bigger goals are, this is a short section. I would usually keep it to maybe one paragraph or maybe 2 short paragraphs. Again, you just want to think about what would be appropriate for your proposal. Okay, so going back to our headings, this will be the last section. So this is the very end of your proposal, the last few lines of your 10 pages. Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time. I'd like to go through two different summary or future direction sections that are in these example proposals that are available from the NIH website. The one I'm going to talk about here is from Gandhi, the Gandhi proposal. And what I do is I highlight in here yellow those sections that are sort of the significant outcome, the 4-year goal type information. And in green, I highlight the future studies. That would be the studies that would occur after what's happened in this application to achieve that 10 or 20-year goal from your aims page. So if you look at the wording here, and they call it a conclusion section. So, you know, again, lots of flexibility here. So in this section it says, the completion of these aims should allow us to blah, 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 okay? So we're really focusing in on what this 4-year goal application is going to be doing. These findings should advance real-world strategies, and then you see they kind of do a nice listing of the things that this particular application is going to achieve. And then after that, the next section of this paragraph goes into future studies. Future studies that could stem from this work include, so what could happen next to achieve the long-term goal? So you can see it really follows this particular outline, the outcome of this application and the future work that we expect for the bigger long-term goal. And it does this in one pretty short paragraph, right? Not long at all. Let's look at the other one. In this case, the summary, they call it a summary, where you can see that this first sentence just reintroduces the problem. And then it goes into the significant outcome of this application. A research program will be undertaken to study, and they talk about what they're studying. We will integrate chemical, biochemical, biophysical, and genetic tools to gain a deeper understanding. So they really kind of remind the audience what they're going to do in this proposal. And then they go into what's going to happen the next step. The program will move forward in 3 new directions, right? And they talk about what those will be. These studies will provide fundamental insights into, you know, their particular system. And this is from the Tom Muir proposal. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So what I wanted to do is give you some tips, and then I'll show you what I wrote. Again, what I wrote for our in-class COVID-19 proposal. So here's some tips. Make sure this section displays your excitement for the project. It should have bold words, significance, outcome. You should be really putting your effort to make this section sound exciting, right? You want to get this reviewer really excited about what you're doing. And make sure that it's clear how this project is going to impact human health or the human condition, whatever your big picture issue is, okay? References are not expected in this section. You're certainly welcome to put them in, but if you don't have any, no problem. This is really more about selling your ideas, okay? And then finally, just as, I'll just reiterate what Ed already said, which is please do not hesitate to skim these example proposals from the NIH just to get a feel for how much detail they have in them, how long are the sections. Please take some time to do that so you can get an idea of what these proposals look like. Okay, so I wrote a final summary future direction section for our class, and this is the writing if you want to just read it, and you can download it from the web. But I highlighted in yellow and green sort of the different parts that kind of go along with the sections. Yellow, of course, is what are we going to achieve in this proposal, this 4-year-ish plan, and then what would be the future work. And so here's what I came up with. Ed's been doing most of the writing here, so I have to admit I really very much enjoyed doing this because it allowed me to kind of get bigger. So anyway, here's my attempt at it, and I don't know how much you want me to read this, but I loved this. I was particularly proud of this first sentence, so I'll read that one. The global SARS, it should be COVID-2 pandemic. I apologize for that. The global SARS-CoV-2 pandemic of 2019 taught the research community that current viral detection methods are inadequate to quickly and thoroughly monitor viral spread in a community. And I think that is really what we've learned in this. I don't know, that's my take home. for how maybe my lab could impact this world. An assay that is fast, simple, cheap, and portable is immediately needed to enable effective contact screening of infection, allow employers to assess the health of workers to continue economic activity even during a pandemic or epidemic, and promote selective and responsible quarantining for only infected people. Wouldn't that be great? So like, this was like my dream of what a pandemic would look like in the future. We propose in this application to create a fast, high-throughput viral detection actually that can be customized to any known or new virus to provide a first line of screening for viral detection in a community. Unlike the current low throughput PCR method, the proposed assay relies on a different mode of detection and amplification, in addition to monitoring a different component of the viral particle. So we're really trying to show that we're doing a very different approach here. Okay, so those are kind of, this is what we're gonna do in this exciting proposal we put together. Let's talk about the future direction. With successful development and implementation of the proposed MRI-based assay in this application, future work will move the method into the clinical trials for general implementation in hospitals and laboratories. In parallel, and by the way, I just made this up, so I don't know if Ed approves, but in parallel, we envision applying this MRI-based strategy to other agents of human illness, including bacteria, fungi, parasites. Why not, right? In summary, the long-term goal of this project will launch essential tools to significantly enhance the tracking and monitoring of human infectious disease, which will transform the standard of care and emergency preparedness for future outbreaks. Okay, so I got excited writing that. I don't know if I showed that to you in my reading of it, but it was fun to write this. And like Ed said, I would say probably about 20 to 30 minutes to write it. So it's not a huge writing assignment. All right, let's end here. This is a great time to ask questions, folks, because I'm going to end right away. The homework assignment for next time. You know that your homework 9 is actually not due till tomorrow, right? But after you finish homework 9 and your approach section, your next challenge is to write these two short sections on innovation and summary and future directions. As we talked about, this is really maybe a paragraph, maybe 2 short paragraphs, but it's short, between a third and a half a page. Maybe not, I mean, maybe, you know, just short. It doesn't have to be super long. You want to get to the point, concise, clear, get to your point. Then what we want you to do for this homework 10 assignment is not turn in just the innovation and future direction sections that you just wrote. We want you to combine all the sections you've written up to this point. These 2 sections are the last sections of your full proposal. So we want you to put it all together into one document that represents the first draft of your proposal. Yay! Okay, so it's a real milestone in our class. You've got your first draft. Now, after you get this first draft on Thursday, you can start the process of rewriting and rewriting and writing that we've been talking about for weeks. So combine all your writing assignments. This includes the title, the abstract, the aims page, and then this full research strategy, which is a combination of the background and significance, innovation approach, and the summary future direction section. You'll end with your literature cited. Please put in page numbers. We like page numbers. And we also put a little note here, combine the document. The combined documents also include your figures and tables in the document that should have figure numbers. So figure 1, figure 2, table 1, table 2, scheme 1, scheme 2, and then refer to those into the text. Okay. You're gonna talk, so the rest of the class, we are done. Ed and I are done talking about the writing of the proposal. So this is a real milestone in the class. Ed and I are excited to be here. I hope you are too. After Thursday and this homework 10, your challenge is to rewrite and rewrite and rewrite and rewrite. Okay, so no new writing assignments for your proposal. And that's how we're going to finish the class. The rest of the class, starting on Thursday, will be really revising. Now, we will talk a little bit about some other aspects of the proposal, like your CV. We will kind of finish up with some other parts of your candidacy exam. But in terms of the first draft of your proposal, we're ready to see it. Does it have to be perfect? Absolutely not. It's just the first draft. And we are excited to see you revise it and improve it and make it something you're proud of. Okay, any questions? Raise your hand, add a question to the chat. We're here to take questions, and if we're done, then we will move to breakout sessions if there's no questions.
Do you have any questions, guys, with respect to perhaps other parts of the proposal or anything else? Because really, as Mary Kay said, starting from the next assignment, we'll be switching more to non-scientific components of the proposal writing and also reviewing the proposals.
Well, congratulations, you guys, for getting to this step in the class. We're excited to move it forward and start that exciting process of revising.